Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Daifukuji Soto Mission Service. My name is Charlene Hoju Ji. I am happy to be your MC this morning. We will begin with the Daruma-ki Service. Daruma-ki is held in the remembrance of Bodhidharma, or Bodai Daruma Daishi, whom the Japanese affectionately call Daruma-sama. Daruma-sama is the forefather of the Zen sect. He introduced Zen to China from India and is the 28th patriarch in our lineage. Daruma-sama is the figure seated in the alcove behind me. He's on the left. And the scroll in back of me is a painting of Bodhidharma. This scroll was recently donated to our temple by the family of the late Bishop Yoshiaki Fujitani of the Honpa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii. Daruma Daishi was born as the third royal prince to the king and queen of South India's Kashi province. He was named Bodai Tara at birth, a name which later changed to Bodhidharma. For 40 years, he studied the Buddha way, following a monk named Hanya Tara. After Hanya Tara passed away, Daruma Daishi made the long journey to China around the year 520 CE, at a time when the scholastic philosophy of Buddhism was at its height of development in China. Daruma Daishi realized that many were not grasping the heart and essence of Buddhism, which could not be conveyed in texts. Not those texts, written texts. At the Shaolin Temple, located on Mount Su, he faced the wall and sat in Zazen day and night for 9 years. At first I thought that said 9 days, but it was 9 years. He also gave teachings. He became known to the world as the Men-peki Kunen no Daruma, or the wall-facing Daruma of 9 years. He gained the deep respect of the Chinese emperor for his noble character and sermons on Zen, and came to be revered as the first patriarch of Zen in China. Daruma Daishi has become a popular symbol of perseverance and fortitude. He reminds us to directly face our obstacles and obstructions of the mind with courage and inner strength. Although he is often portrayed with a fierce and wild expression, there's also humor in Daruma-sama, which endears him to us. In Soto Zen, October 5th is recognized as the anniversary of his death. We call this day Daruma-ki, or the anniversary of Daruma's eternal rest. Today we have gathered to pay reverence to this great Zen teacher. The Baikako Plum Blossom Choir will now sing the Sanbo Goa-san, or Song of the Three Treasures. Please rise when Reverend Jiko enters the hall. Please be seated. Next, we will have the offering of flowers by some of the various temple organizations and Daruma Daishi Gowasan by the Baikako. Representing the Daifukuji Kyodon Board and Fujinkai, Joyce Yu Ko St. Arnold. Representing the Baikako, Michiko Enomoto. If somebody would like to offer flowers on behalf of Zazenkai and Daruma-ki, please do. Eliana. Please rise for the singing of the Vandanati Sarana, which is in your program. Lenko Hogo, or Dharma words.
On this 20th day of October, in the year 2024, we, the members of the Daifukuji Sangha, pay homage to Bodhidharma, Bodai Daruma Daishi, the 28th ancestor in our Soto Zen lineage. We commemorate the anniversary of his death, the anniversary of Daruma's eternal rest, honoring this great Zen teacher who exhorted his disciples to see their own true nature and behold the mind. We bow humbly with sincere reverence and dedicate this Daruma-ki service to his memory. May we sit in Zazen steadfastly, inspired by the perseverance of this great teacher. May the Dharma continue to flourish, bringing peace and calm throughout the land. Namu Kie Butsu, Namu Kie Ho, Namu Kie So. We take refuge in the Buddha, we take refuge in the Dharma, we take refuge in the Sangha.
We will now chant the Hanya Shingyo, Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra, which is on your program. We will be chanting in both Japanese and English. Waikato Plum Blossom Choir will now sing Daruma Daishi Goeka, a song which expresses our gratitude to Daruma-sama for his teachings.
In observing the Daruma-ki Service and reciting the Makanya Haramita Jinyo, we dedicate the merits to Bodai Daruma Daishi, who embodied the spirit of Zen, and also to the great teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Hawaii Kanzeon Daibosatsu, Kosojo Daishi Dogen Zenji, Taisojo Saidaishi Keizan Zenji, Mahaprajapati, Dento Rekidai Soshi Dharma ancestors, founder Kodama Kaiseki, and successive ministers of Daifukuji in the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures. May we appreciate their benevolence and show our gratitude to our many guides as we walk the path of the Dharma. We also pray for the peace of our world, the peace of our community, the peace of this temple, and the sound practice of our members. May this good karma be extended to all relations, and may we realize the Buddha way together.
Let us now recite A Life of Tranquility, Purity, and Peace. The words can be found inside your program. A life of tranquility, purity, and peace. Embraced by the Buddha's boundless compassion, we shall attain a peaceful state of mind and enjoy a life of tranquility. Having confidence in the Buddha's most excellent teachings, we shall attain a clear state of mind and enjoy a life of purity. Following the Buddha's example to avoid discrimination and to be mutually harmonious, we shall transcend the distinctions between self and others and enjoy a life of peace. A Dharma message will now be given by Teri Jigen Hollowell, who will be speaking about the women in Keizan Zenji's life. Jigen serves as the corresponding secretary on both the Daifukuji board and the Fujinkai board. She is also a member of the Zazenkai, Baikako, Samu, and Dharma study groups. She is heading the board's project to have the altar figures of Dogen Zenji and Keizan Zenji cleaned and repaired. Keizan Zenji was the fourth ancestor after Dogen Zenji in the Japanese Soto Zen lineage. He was born in 1264 and passed away in 1325. He is regarded as the great propagator of the Soto Zen sect throughout Japan, and along with Dogen Zenji is an eminent ancestor of our tradition.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm going to speak about Keizan Zenji and women. We're going to touch on how Dogen and Keizan and why they are important to Soto Zen first, so you can get kind of a background. And then we're going to meet Sonin and Ekkyu, which were two of Keizan's women disciples. And then we're going to talk about women during Keizan's time, which was the late 1200s in Japan, around 800 years ago, and how mothers were used as cautionary tales for young monks, how women contributed to the number of Buddhist temples in Japan, and how women discovered the power of a name. And we will ask, was there really equality for women in Keizan's Japan in the late 1200s? So let's get started. Dogen lived first. He was born in 1200 and lived to 1253. He was the founder of our Soto Zen school in Japan, a prolific writer and philosopher. Keizan was born after Dogen died. He lived from 1268 to 1325. Keizan spread teaching and increased interest in the general population of Japan for Soto Zen Buddhism. He understood that the ordinary person needed funeral and memorial services to give them peace, and he used it as a teaching tool. So briefly, we have the two ancestors of the Soto school. Dogen, who was pure in the way he regarded Zen. Keizan, who was more eclectic because he was choosing from many different schools and teachings. Dogen, who was an elitist. He liked to sit in his room and meditate. And then there was Keizan, who preferred to be out with the common folks and to be teaching for the common good. Dogen, who was monastic. He liked his monastery. He enjoyed teaching his students. And Keizan, who was accessible to the lay people. He was busy building temples and getting more people to come to his services. Dogen, we could say, was inward. Keizan, outward. Dogen was known as the High Patriarch. Keizan as the Great Patriarch. Now, we have a statue of each one of these gentlemen in our temple, Dogen is to the far side in his niche, and Keizan is closer to me. Reverend Jiko and I and the board are working to refurbish our old statues of, our Japanese statues of Dogen and Keizan. And the one thing that I want to bring to your mind is that you can see with Dogen, he has serious dark clothing and a serious face. And when we were working with the statues with the art historian from Honolulu, it was really interesting to look at Keizan, because if you see him up close, he has smile wrinkles on his face. And he also has jazzy colored robes with a lot of gold on. So there really is a difference between the two patriarchs and ancestors of the Soto Zen. Keizan grew up devoted to his mother and grandmother, who were both devoted to Zen Buddhism. His grandmother was a Zen Buddhist nun who had actually received teachings from Dogen, and his mother became an abbess at a Zen convent. Keizan also had devout faith in Kannon Bodhisattva, who in Zen Buddhism takes on the female attributes. She often visited him in his dreams. Sonin was a benefactor and student of Keizan. She gave him land and she gave him money to build Yokuji temple. Keizan even dedicated a special Kannon hall at this temple to his grandmother and let Sonin use it as her own chapel. He said Sonin was the reincarnation of his grandmother and said that he and she were inseparable. He gave precepts to Sonin and also gave them to Sonin's mother. And upon her mother's death, he directed monks to hold monthly annual services in the mother's honor. He said, "You should revere patrons as you would the Buddha, regardless of their sex." Ikkyu was the first Japanese nun known to have received Soto Dharma transmission from Keizan. She was Keizan's disciple. And early on, Keizan helped her by giving her Dogen's texts to study, and he personally transcribed them from the Chinese to the Japanese, which could not have been a simple or easy task. In ancient Japan, women were seen more often as men, as shamanistic diviners. As Buddhism became popular in Japan, these functions that were performed by female shamans came to be performed mainly by male Buddhist ascetics or mountain priests. Ahead of his time, Keizan, emphasizing equality of men and women, actually promoted his women to become resident priests. This was groundbreaking, and Keizan is thought to be the origin of the organization of Soto Zen school nuns, of which Sonin and Ekkyu were two. They both became abbesses at nunneries that Keizan began. Unlike the Chinese Confucianist ancestor cult that centered on fathers, the Japanese and sometimes Chinese Buddhism seems to pay more attention to female ancestors. Many times, however, what we would see as a cold sacrifice in our 21st century lifetime is used as a teaching to ending clinging to a temporary body, such as the story of patriarch Dongshan Lianji's mother. She was destitute. She was reduced to begging. And Dongshan was a monk in a monastery. and he ignored her. She was begging on the streets and finally found him in the monastery, but he wouldn't see her. She died of grief on his doorstep. Dongshen picked up the rice that she had had with her when she died and mixed it into the breakfast gruel of his community as a funeral offering. Now, that doesn't seem like too thankful for a thing for a son to do for a father as far as we're concerned. But at that time, it was seen that as a wonderful thing. His mother later gave thanks to him in a dream for the proof of his steadfastness, and thanks that she had been able to put aside her illusion of attachment and be reborn in heaven. Keizan comments, although all masters and patriarchs excel virtue, Dongshan, the founder of our school, contributed especially to promote its style. This is due to the power he achieved by forsaking his parents and keeping his purpose. I wonder if this was a helpful story to keep young monks in monasteries away from grieving mothers who fervently wish their sons to return home. But who knows? Women in Keizan's time were simply identified by names of their clan. There were no personal names. It was only when they become ordained Buddhists, alive or at their funerals, that they obtained a personal religious name. So, widows became nuns in large number to achieve the power of having their own name. Women at this time could inherit land from their husband and hold it during their lifetime, but they would lose it to a son designated by the dead father when she died, and if she remarried, her property would go to her new husband's sons. So, this is why many widows, or wives with aging husbands and no sons, put themselves under the care of a Buddhist institution and transferred their property to the temples. From records, we know that Keizan used this law a great deal to acquire goods and property for temples. So, women contributed a great deal to the growing number of Zen temples in Japan because it was one way that they could hold on to their power. The position of women in this age was that of complete subordination. Zen texts by Dogen offer many passages insisting on equality between men and women, especially when discussing the ultimate goal of awakening, because he believed anyone could awaken. Equality rarely became practiced, however. Women like the nuns, Sonin or Ikkyu, were not ever mentioned. In the spiritual line of succession of Keizan, even though they were given Dharma transmission by him, many of the nuns were never mentioned. Probably because this was all written by men. Zen, unlike Taoism, did not assert the value of femininity. That seems to have attracted a large amount of noble women with property, and there was a certain fear and heightened awareness of the dangers that a feminine presence could bring to a community of young monks in a monastery. Rightly so, I can imagine. The fact remains that even with Keizan's devotion to the cause of women, most legends in the Soto tradition concern male monks, and Keizan's examples appear to be the exception to the rules. I hope you've enjoyed meeting and learning a little bit more about Dogen and Keizan and Sonin and Ikkyu, and have increased your knowledge of why women became nuns in Japan in the 1200s and of Keizan's influence on women in Buddhism. Thank you very much.
Amen. Everyone, please rise for the singing of the song, Just Sit. We're rising to sit. Just Sit is a song about our Soto Zen practice of Zazen. The lyrics were written by Ryan Jigaku Nakade and Reverend Jiko. The song will be led by Reverend Jiko and Deacon Jikai. After singing Just Sit, please remain standing for the shomyo. The words are in your program.
Today, this song we dedicated to Bodai Daruma Daishi, to Daruma-sama, who just sat for 90 years in a cave in China, and he was a very good example of one who just sat. We'll have Jikai.